What does the Bible and such say about the issues around climate change? Is there a stance on there which you could get from your belief, or is it just something which you would have an opinion yourself, or is there teachings on it as such, do you think?
Yeah, so when God created man in the Garden of Eden, he gave Adam charge over creation, and he was to subdue it and look after it. So there's a
Subdue, wow.
subdue. And yeah, so to subdue it, it's not to abuse it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we've subdued it a bit too far at the minute. Or at least that's what people are saying. I don't know, I haven't got the evidence, but I believe climate scientists. So
doing it in the sense of making it good. So the Garden of Eden was pristine, but outside the garden, it wasn't pristine. So man was supposed to go and make everything pristine. So I think a good example of this is to see how over the years, the very first tomatoes, if you look at history, were this big. They weren't used for anything. But through subduing the earth, if you want, genetic engineering, not in a lab, but hybrid. What's the phrase?
Just selective breeding is basically.
That's it. Selective breeding. Yeah. You've gone from tomatoes this big to big juicy ones.
Well, it's the same with everything. I mean, people don't actually realize, well, I say that in the anticipation, that seems a bit arrogant, but a lot of people may not realize, is probably a better way to put it, that a lot of the vegetables we eat are from the same base crops. So for example, I mean, people probably know, but sprouts, cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, there's loads of others, even spinach, I think spinach, beet, all these ones, they're all from mustard. They're all from wild mustard. And so, I mean, I don't know, obviously, maybe you're not the person to ask, but I was always wondering whether we actually put ourselves at risk in that situation, because apparently wild mustard must taste great, or it certainly did to our ancestors. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made so many different things from it. But you start off with this tiny little thing, which, a mustard seed, a wild mustard seed at that, which then through selective breeding becomes all of these vegetables, which is fantastic because there's such a variety with all of them. But in another way, what I was thinking is does that not leave you open to the susceptibility of a disease? Because surely if they're all the same plant, in quotes, I mean, they're obviously different now, but share the same genetics. If there is a virus, for example, that affects wild mustard, you could potentially, if you're a doomsayer, wipe out half of the vegetables that we consume these days. And on top of that, then you've got cucumber, or whatever it's called, which is tomatoes, pumpkins, cucumbers, squash, everything like this. So you've got a whole nother family there. And then you've got the apples as well, or that side of thing. So if you had 1 year where you had 2 or 3 particularly bad viruses that affected a base crop, you could potentially wipe out the entire food source for much of humanity, at least certainly our diets here. I don't know, if China and other places have different varieties of different vegetables which might be able to replace that, but it's a bit scary, isn't it? I mean, if you think about that.
I suppose there we are, without being an expert, by acknowledging that I'm not an expert at all on these things, but when you look at history, you will remember the great potato blight in Ireland, which put so many people people died. But I'm not an expert on these things. And yeah, I think we are always susceptible to famine. But I think we have made great leaps in farming, especially vegetables and animals, actually, in that it's not just that through selective breeding, you are getting better vegetables and fruit, but you're also getting vegetables and fruit that are immune to disease and viruses or bacteria. But like I said, way beyond what I know.
Yeah, I mean, it's beyond me as well, but that's what I mean. I think it's just fascinating. These are the sort of things I'd love to ask, like, if you get it, hopefully try and get some scientists on at some point and pose them these questions. Yeah. They probably think I'm an idiot asking some really obvious question or something. I don't know, but I mean, there's only one way to know, really.